I don't know. Hello, everyone. This is Deon
I'm Rob.
and we used to do this during quarantine, and we're still kind of in quarantine, right?
It's true. It's very true. But we found a good new book.
Yes.
Can you show the picture of OSHO on the back too? I was just looking at that.
There he is. OSHO. So, this is an intense book, and I only read the first couple paragraphs, and please excuse me if you don't like what you hear.
That's a good way to put it.
All right. Okay. Here's the foreword. Don't call it uncertainty, call it wonder. Don't call it insecurity, call it freedom. I am not here to give you a dogma. A dogma makes one certain. I am not here to give you any promise for the future. Any promise for the future makes one secure. I am here simply to make you alert and aware. That is, to be here now, with all the insecurity that life is, with all the uncertainty that life is, with all the danger that life is. I know you come here seeking some certainty, some creed, some ism, somewhere to belong to, someone to rely upon. You come here out of your fear. You are searching for a sort of beautiful imprisonment so that you can live without awareness. I would like to make you more insecure, more uncertain, because that's how life is. That's how God is. When there is more insecurity and more danger, the only way to respond to it is by awareness. There are two possibilities. Either you close your eyes and become dogmatic, become a Christian or a Hindu or a Mohammedan, then you become like an ostrich. It doesn't change life, it simply closes your eyes. It simply makes you stupid. It simply makes you unintelligent. In your unintelligence, you feel secure. All idiots feel secure. In fact, only idiots feel secure. A real alive man will always feel insecure. What security can there be? Life is not a mechanical process. It cannot be certain. It is an unpredictable mystery. Nobody knows what is going to happen the next moment. Not even God, that you think resides somewhere in the seventh heaven, not even He, if He is there, not even He knows what is going to happen. Because if He knows what is going to happen, then life is just bogus. Then everything is written beforehand. Then everything is destined beforehand. How can He know what is going to happen next if the future is open? If God knows what is going to happen the next moment, then life is just a dead mechanical process. Then there is no freedom. And how can life exist without freedom? Then there is no possibility to grow or not to grow. If everything is predestined, then there is no glory, no grandeur. Then you are just robots. No, nothing is secure. That is my message. Nothing can be secure because a secure life will be worse than death. Nothing is certain. Life is full of uncertainties, full of surprises. That is its beauty. You can never come to a moment when you can say, now I am certain. When you say you are certain, you simply declare your death. You have committed suicide. Life goes on moving with 1,001 uncertainties. That's its freedom. Don't call it insecurity. I can understand why mind calls freedom insecurity. Have you lived in a jail for a few months or a few years? If you have lived in a jail for a few years, when the day of release comes, the prisoner starts feeling uncertain about the future. Everything was certain in the jail. Everything was dead routine. His food was supplied. Protection was given to him. There was no fear that he would be hungry the next day, and there would be no food. Nothing like that. Everything was certain. Now, suddenly, after many years, the jailer comes and says to him, now you are going to be released. He starts trembling. Outside the walls of the prison, again there will be uncertainties. Again he will have to seek, search. Again he will have to live in freedom. Freedom creates fear. People talk about freedom, but they are afraid. And a man is not yet a man if he is afraid of freedom. I give you freedom. I don't give you security. I give you understanding. I don't give you knowledge. Knowledge will make you certain. If I can give you a formula, a set formula, that there is a God and there is a Holy Ghost and there is an only begotten Son, Jesus, there is a hell and a heaven, and these are the good acts and these are the bad acts. Do the sin and you will be in hell. Do what I call the virtuous acts and you will be in heaven. Finished. Then you are certain. That's why so many people have chosen to be Christians, to be Hindus, to be Mohammedans, to be Jainas. They don't want freedom. They want fixed formulas. Ooh. A man was dying suddenly in an accident on a road. Nobody knew that he was a Jew, so a priest was called, a Catholic priest. He leaned close to the man, and the man was dying. In the last throes of death, the priest said, "Do you believe in the Trinity of God, the Father, the Holy Ghost, and Son Jesus?" The man opened his eyes and he said, "Look, here I am dying, and he is talking in riddles." When death knocks at your door, all your certainties will be simply riddles and foolish. Don't cling to any certainty. Life is uncertain. Its very nature is uncertain. And an intelligent man always remains uncertain. This very readiness to remain in an uncertainty is courage. This very readiness to be in an uncertainty is trust. An intelligent person is one who remains alert whatsoever the situation and responds to it with his whole heart. Not that he knows what is going to happen, not that he knows, do this and this will happen. Life is not a science. It is not a cause and effect chain. Heat the water to 100 degrees and it evaporates. This is certainty. But in real life, nothing is certain like that. Each individual is a freedom, an unknown freedom. It is impossible to predict, impossible to expect. One has to live in awareness and in understanding. You come to me seeking knowledge and want set formulas so that you can cling to them. I don't give you any. In fact, if you have any, I take them away. By and by, I destroy your certainty. By and by, I make you more and more hesitant. By and by, I make you more and more insecure. That is the only thing that has to be done. That's the only thing a master needs to do, to leave you in total freedom with all the possibilities opening, nothing fixed. You have to be aware. Nothing else is possible. This is what I call understanding. If you understand, insecurity is an intrinsic part of life, and good that it is so, because it makes life a freedom. It makes life a continuous surprise. One never knows what is going to happen. It keeps you continuously in wonder. Don't call it uncertainty, call it wonder. Don't call it insecurity, call it freedom. And then there's a quote here. You cannot be truthful if you are not courageous. You cannot be loving if you are not courageous. You cannot be trusting if you are not courageous. You cannot inquire into reality if you are not courageous. Hence, courage comes first and everything else follows. Want a little more? Page 1. What is courage?
We haven't even started the book yet.
That was the foreword.
Goodness, that was a lot.
In the beginning, there is not much difference between the coward and the courageous person. The only difference is the coward listens to his fears and follows them, and the courageous person puts them aside and goes ahead. The courageous person goes into the unknown in spite of all the fears. Courage means going into the unknown in spite of all the fears. Courage does not mean fearlessness. Fearlessness happens if you go on being courageous and more courageous. That is the ultimate experience of courage, fearlessness. That is the fragrance when the courage has become absolute. But in the beginning, there is not much difference between the coward and the courageous person. The only difference is that the coward listens to his fears and follows them, and the courageous person puts them aside and goes ahead. The courageous person goes into the unknown in spite of all the fears. He knows the fears are there. When you go into the uncharted sea, like Columbus did, there is fear, immense fear. Because no one knows, no because one never knows what is going to happen. You are leaving the shore of safety. You were perfectly okay in a way. Only one thing was missing: adventure. Going into the unknown gives you a thrill. The heart starts pulsating again. Again, you are alive, fully alive. Every fiber of your being is alive because you have accepted the challenge of the unknown. To accept the challenge of the unknown in spite of all fears is courage. The fears are there, but if you go on accepting the challenge again and again, slowly, slowly, those fears disappear. The experience of the joy that the unknown brings, the great ecstasy that starts happening with the unknown, makes you strong enough, gives you a certain integrity, makes your intelligence sharp. For the first time, you start feeling that life is not just a boredom, but an adventure. Then slowly, slowly, fears disappear. Then you are always seeking and searching for some adventure. But basically, courage is risking the known for the unknown, the familiar for the unfamiliar, the comfortable for the uncomfortable, arduous pilgrimage to some unknown destination. One never knows whether one will be able to make it or not. It is gambling, but only the gamblers know what life is. The Tao of courage. Life does not listen to your logic. It goes on its own way, undisturbed. You have to listen to life. Life will not listen to your logic. It does not bother about your logic. When you move into life, what do you see? A great storm comes and big trees fall. They should survive, according to Charles Darwin, because they are the fittest, strongest, most powerful. Look at an ancient tree, 300 feet high, 3,000 years old. The very presence of the tree creates strength, gives a feeling of strength and power. Millions of roots have spread inside the earth, gone deep, and the tree is standing with power. Of course, the tree fights. It does not want to yield, to surrender. But after the storm, it has fallen. It is dead. It is no longer alive, and all the strength has gone. The storm was too much. The storm is always too much, because the storm comes from the whole, and a tree is just an individual. Then there are small plants and ordinary grass. When the storm comes, the grass yields, and the storm cannot do any harm to it. At the most, it can give it a good cleansing, that's all. All the dirt that has gathered on it is washed away. The storm gives it a good bath, and when the storm has gone, the small plants and the grasses are again dancing high. The grass has almost no roots. It can be pulled out by a small hand, but the storm was defeated. What happened? The grass followed the way of Tao, the way of Lao Tzu, and the big tree followed Charles Darwin. The big tree was very logical. It tried to resist. It tried to show its strength. If you try to show your strength, you will be defeated. All Hitlers, all Napoleons, all Alexanders are big trees, strong trees. They will all be defeated. Lao Tzu are just like small plants, just like small plants. Nobody can defeat them because they are always ready to yield. How can you defeat a person who yields, who says, I am already defeated, who says, sir, you enjoy your victory. There is no need to create any trouble. I'm defeated. Even an Alexander will feel futile because of Lao Tzu. He cannot do anything. It happened. It happened exactly like that. A sannyasin, a mystic by the name of Dandamus, existed in the days of Alexander, in the days when Alexander was in India. Friends had told Alexander that when he was leaving for India, that when he came back, he should bring a sannyasin, because that rare flower flowered only in India. They said, we would like to see the phenomenon of sannyas, what it is, what exactly a sannyasin is. He was so engaged in a war and struggle and fight that he almost forgot about it. But when he was going back, just on the boundary of India, he suddenly remembered. He was leaving the last village, so he asked his soldiers to go into the village and inquire if there was a sannyasin around there somewhere. By accident, Dandamus was there in the village, by the riverside, and the people said, you have come at the right time. There are many sannyasins, but a real sannyasin is always rare, and he is here now. You can have darshan. You can go and visit him. Alexander laughed. He said, I'm not here to have darshan. My soldiers will go and fetch him. I will take him back to the capital of my country. The villagers said, it won't be so easy. Alexander could not believe it. What difficulty could there be? He had conquered emperors, great kings, so with a beggar, a sannyasin, what difficulty could there be? His soldiers went to see this Dandamus, who was standing naked on the bank of the river. They said, Alexander the Great invites you to accompany him to his country. All comforts whatsoever you need will be provided. You will be a royal guest. The naked fakir laughed and said, You go and tell your master that a man who calls himself great cannot be great, and nobody can take me anywhere. A sannyasin moves like a cloud in total freedom. I am not enslaved to anybody. They said, You must have heard about Alexander. He is a dangerous man. If you say no to him, he won't listen. He will simply cut off your head. Alexander had to go because the soldiers said, He is a rare man, luminous. There is something of the unknown around him. He is naked, but you don't feel in his presence that he is naked. Later on, you remember. He is so powerful that in his presence you simply forget the whole world. He is magnetic, and a great silence surrounds him. And the whole area feels as if it is delighting in the man. He is worth seeing, but there seems to be trouble ahead for him, the poor man, because he says that nobody can take him anywhere, that he is nobody's slave. Alexander went to see him with a naked sword in his hand. Dandamus laughed and said, Put down your sword. It is useless here. Put it back in the sheath. It is useless here because you can cut only my body, and that I left long ago. Your sword cannot cut me, so put it back. Don't be childish. And it is said that this was the first time Alexander followed somebody else's order. Just because of the very presence of the man, he couldn't remember who he was. He put his sword back in the sheath and said, I have never come across such a beautiful man. And when he was back in the camp, he said, It is difficult to kill a man who is ready to die. It is meaningless to kill him. You can kill a person who fights, then there is some meaning in killing. But you can't kill a man who is ready and who is saying, This is my head, you can cut it off. And Dandamus actually said, This is my head, you can cut it off. When the head falls, you will see it falling on the sand, and I will also see it falling on the sand, because I am not my body, I am a witness. Alexander had to report to his friends. There were sannyasins there that I could have brought, but they were not sannyasins. Then I came across a man who was really something rare, and you have been heard rightly, this flower is rare, but nobody can force him because he is not afraid of death. When a person is not afraid of death, how can you force him to do anything? It is your fear that makes you a slave. It is your fear. When you are fearless, you are no longer a slave. In fact, it is your fear that forces you to make other slaves before they can try to make a slave out of you. A man who is fearless is neither afraid of anybody nor makes anybody afraid of him. Fear totally disappears. The way of the heart. The word courage is very interesting. It comes from a Latin root, cor, which means heart. So to be courageous means to live with the heart. And weaklings, only weaklings, live with the head. Afraid, they create a security of logic around themselves. Fearful, they close every window and door with theology, concepts, words, theories, and inside those closed doors and windows, they hide. The way of the heart is the way of courage. It is to live in insecurity. It is to live in love and trust. It is to move in the unknown. It is leaving the past and allowing the future to be. Courage is to move on dangerous paths. Life is dangerous, and only cowards can avoid the danger, but then they are already dead. A person who is alive, really alive, vitally alive, will always move into the unknown. There is danger there, but he will take the risk. The heart is always ready to take the risk. The heart is a gambler. The head is a businessman. The head always calculates. It is cunning. The heart is non-calculating. This English word courage is beautiful, very interesting. To live through the heart is to discover meaning. A poet lives through the heart, and by, in the heart he starts listening to the sounds of the unknown. The head cannot listen. It is very far away from the unknown. The head is filled with the known. What is your mind? It is all that you have known. It is the past, the dead, that which has gone. Mind is nothing but the accumulated past, the memory. Heart is the future. Heart is always the hope. Heart is always somewhere in the future. Head thinks about the past. Heart dreams about the future. The future is yet to come. The future is yet to be. The future has yet a possibility. It will come. It is already coming. Every moment the future is becoming the present, and the present is becoming the past. The past has no possibility. It has been used. You have already moved away from it. It is exhausted. It is a dead thing. It is like a grave. The future is like a seed. It is coming, ever coming, always reaching and meeting with the present. You are always moving. The present is nothing but a movement into the future. It is the step that you have already taken. It is going into the future. Everybody in the world wants to be true because to be true beings, so much joy and such an abundance of bliss. Why should one be false? You have to have the courage for a little deeper insight. Why are you afraid? What can the world do to you? People can laugh at you. It will do them good. Laughter is always a medicine, healthful. People can think you are mad. Just because they think you are mad, you don't become mad. And if you are authentic about your joy, your tears, your dance, sooner or later, there will be people who will start understanding you, who may start joining your caravan. I myself had started alone on the path, and then people went on coming and it became a worldwide caravan. And I have not invited anybody. I have simply done whatever I felt was coming from my heart. My responsibility is toward my heart, not toward anybody else in the world. So is your responsibility only toward your own being. Don't go against it, because going against it is committing suicide, is destroying yourself. And what is the gain? Even if people give you respect and people think that you are a very sober, respectable, honorable man, these things are not going to nourish your being. They are not going to give you any more insight into life and its tremendous beauty. How many millions of people have lived before you on this earth? You don't even know their names. Whether they ever lived or not does not make any difference. There have been saints and there have been sinners and there have been very respectable people and there have been all kinds of eccentrics, crazy, but they have all disappeared. Not even a trace has remained on the earth. Your sole concern should be to take care of and protect those qualities that can take with you when death destroys your body, your mind, because these qualities will be your sole companion. They are the only real values, and the people who attain them, only they live. Others only pretend to live. The KGB knocks on Usul Frankenstein's door one dark night. Usul opens the door. The KGB man barks out, "Does Usul Frankenstein live here?" "No," replies Usul, standing there in his frayed pajamas. "No? So what is the name then?" "Usul Frankenstein." The KGB man knocks him to the ground and says, "Did you just say that you did not live here?" Usul replies, "You call this living?" Just living is not always living. Look at your life. Can you call it a blessing? Can you call it a gift, a presence of existence? Would you like this life to be given to you again and again? Don't listen to the scriptures. Listen to your own heart. That is the only scripture I prescribe. Listen very attentively. Listen consciously, and you will never be wrong. And listening to your own heart, you will never be divided. Listening to your own heart, you will start moving in the right direction without ever thinking of what is right and what is wrong. The whole art for the new humanity will consist in the secret of listening to the heart consciously, alertly, attentively, and follow it, go wherever it takes you. Yes, sometimes it will take you into dangers, but remember, those dangers are needed to make you ripe. Sometimes it will take you astray, but remember again, those goings astray are part of growth. Many times you will fall. Rise up again, because this is how one gathers strength, by falling and rising again. This is how one becomes integrated. But don't follow rules imposed from outside. No imposed rule can ever be right, because rules are invented by people who want to rule you. Yes, sometimes there have been great enlightened people in the world too. A Buddha, a Jesus, a Krishna, a Muhammad. They have not given rules to the world. They have given their love. But sooner or later, the disciples gather together and start making codes of conduct. Once the master is gone, once the light is gone and they are in deep darkness, they start groping for certain rules to follow, because now the light in which they could have seen is no longer there. Now they will have to depend on rules. What Jesus did was his own heart's whispering. And what Christians go on doing is not their own heart's whispering. They are imitators. And the moment you imitate, you insult your humanity. You insult your God. Never be an imitator. Be always original. Don't become a carbon copy. But that's what is happening all over the world. Carbon copies and carbon copies. Life is really a dance if you are an original. And you are meant to be an original. Just look how different Krishna is from Buddha. If Krishna had followed Buddha, we would have missed one of the most beautiful men of this earth. Or if Buddha had followed Krishna, he would have been just a poor specimen. Just think of Buddha playing on the flute. He would have disturbed so many people's sleep. He was not a flute player. Just think of Buddha dancing. It looks so ridiculous, just absurd. And the same is the case with Krishna, sitting underneath a tree with no flute, with no crown of peacock feathers, and with no beautiful clothes, just sitting like a beggar under a tree with closed eyes, nobody dancing around him, nothing of the dance, nothing of the song, and Krishna would look so poor, so impoverished. A Buddha is a Buddha, a Krishna is a Krishna, and you are you. And you are not in any way less than anybody else. Respect yourself, respect your own inner voice, and follow it. And remember, I am not guaranteeing you that it will always lead you to the right. Many times it will take you to the wrong, because to come to the right door, one has to knock first on many wrong doors. That's how it is. If you suddenly stumble upon the right door, you will not be able to recognize that it is right. So remember, in the ultimate reckoning, no effort is ever wasted. All efforts contribute to the ultimate climax of your growth. So don't be hesitant. Don't be worried too much about going wrong. That is one of the problems. People have been taught never to do anything wrong. And then they become so hesitant, so fearful, so frightened of doing wrong that they become stuck. They cannot move. Something wrong may happen. So they become like rocks. They lose all movement. Commit as many mistakes as possible, remembering only one thing. Don't commit the same mistake again, and you will be growing. It is part of your freedom to go astray. It is part of your dignity to go even against God, and it is sometimes beautiful to go even against God. This is how you will start having a spine. Otherwise, there are millions of people spineless. Forget all about what you have been told. This is right and this is wrong. Life is not so fixed. The thing that is right today may be wrong tomorrow. The thing that is wrong this moment may be right the next moment. Life cannot be pigeonholed. You cannot label it so easily, this is right and this is wrong. Life is not a chemist's shop where every bottle is labeled and you know what is what. Life is a mystery. One moment something fits and then it is right. Another moment, so much water has gone down the Ganges that it no longer fits, and it is wrong. What is my definition of right? That which is harmonious with existence is right, and that which is disharmonious with existence is wrong. You will have to be very alert each moment because it has to be decided each moment afresh. You cannot depend on ready-made answers for what is right and what is wrong. Only stupid people depend on ready-made answers because they need not be intelligent. There is no need. You already know what is right and what is wrong. You can memorize the list. The list is not very big. The 10 Commandments, so simple. You know what is right and what is wrong, but life goes on changing continuously. If Moses comes back, I don't think he will give you the same 10 Commandments. He cannot. After 3,000 years, how can he give you the same commandments? He will have to invent something new. But my own understanding is this. Whenever commandments are given, they create difficulties for people because by the time they are given, they are already out of date. Life moves so fast. It is a dynamism. Dynamism. It is not static. It is not a stagnant pool. It is a Ganges. It goes on flowing. It is never the same for 2 consecutive moments. So one thing may be right this moment and may not be right the next. Then what to do? The only possible thing is to make people so aware that they themselves can decide how to respond to a changing life. A Zen story. There were 2 temples, rivals. Both the masters, they must have been only so-called masters, must have really been priests. They were so much against each other that they told their followers never to look at the other temple. Each of the priests had a boy to serve him, to go and fetch things for him, to go on errands. The priest of the first temple told the boy servant, "Never talk to the other boy. Those people are dangerous." But boys are boys. One day they met on the road, and the boy from the first temple asked the other, "Where are you going?" The other said, "Wherever the wind takes me." He must have been listening to great Zen things in the temple. He said, "Wherever the wind takes me." A great statement, pure Tao. But the first boy was very much embarrassed, offended, and he could not find how to answer him. Frustrated, angry, and also feeling guilty. "My master said not to talk with these people. These people really are dangerous. Now, what kind of an answer is this? He has humiliated me." He went to his master and told him what had happened. "I am sorry that I talked to him. You were right. Those people are strange. What kind of answer is this? I asked him, 'Where are you going?' A simple formal question, and I knew he was going to the market, just as I was going to the market. But he said, 'Wherever the wind takes me.'" The master said, "I warned you, but you didn't listen. Now look, tomorrow you stand at the same place again. When he comes, ask him, 'Where are you going?' And he will say, 'Wherever the wind takes me.' Then you also be a little more philosophical. Say, 'If you don't have any legs, then,' because the soul is bodiless and the wind cannot take the soul anywhere. What about that?" The boy wanted to be absolutely ready. The whole night he repeated it again and again and again. And next morning, very early, he went there, stood on the right spot, and at the exact time the other boy came. He was very happy. Now he was going to show him what real philosophy is. So he asked, "Where are you going?" And he was waiting. But the boy said, "I am going to fetch vegetables from the market." Now what to do with the philosophy he had learned? Life is like that. You cannot prepare for it. You cannot be ready for it. That's its beauty. That's its wonder, that it always takes you unawares. It always comes as a surprise. If you have eyes, you will see that each moment is a surprise, and no ready-made answer is ever applicable. The next portion is the way of intelligence. But it goes on and on. So should we stop?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you were listening, I hope that you enjoyed it. OSHO always blows my mind and makes me feel a little bit more free and a little bit more able to live from the heart. Yeah.
Well said.
Thanks. All right, guys. Peace. Love you all.